sometimes you start a project and it is just hellacious. I discovered that Mood Fabrics had this thing called Mood Society. Sewciety, Sewciety. Okay, so, or however it's spelled, whatever, not important. And on this Mood Society blog that they have free patterns. So I was like, oh, let's check this out. So I was browsing through it, and basically you put in your email and they'll send you like copies of free patterns that you can print out. I did that with a whole bunch, and then I really fell in love with this overall pattern that they had. It's called the Popular Overalls. They're not quite overalls, they're more like a jumpsuit than a pair of overalls in my opinion, but whatever. They're cute. However, the pattern is horrible. I printed it out and I've been having problems like literally from the get-go. No matter where I printed it, the scaling did not work right. There is, so on here there's this Mood square and it's supposed to measure 2 by 2. And every single time I've tried to print it, no matter where I've tried to print it, it measures 2 and like a 16th. I can get the scales like 1% or 2% or something like that up from what it's supposed to be. Checked the PDF, like went in with programs and measured it. It's correct in the PDF. I made sure that I had all of the scaling options off every single time I tried to print it. I printed it, I attempted several different times. I had professionals at FedEx, Kinko, whatever printing place I went to, try to print it. And we could not get this to scale properly. So, being industrious, I decided to just move forward with a full print of it that is slightly out of scale, and I figured I could fix that. Can't be too bad, right? I mean, yeah. So I definitely ran into some issues there, but that is not all of the issues with this pattern, to say the least. It is free, so I can't complain. It's not like I paid money for it. It's absolutely free, other than the money it costs for me to go print it, and my time and energy. Despite the fact that in the directions on the website, it says that there are notches. There are absolutely no notches on this pattern. The directions on the website are not very clear in some parts. And I am saying this as a sewing professional. There was no finished measurements, like anywhere in the descriptions. There was just sort of like the general fit measurements. And it was like, the sizes were like 16, 18, 20, 22. So the top, I think I started with the 16, 18 for the top, because my top is always smaller. That worked okay in some pieces, and then there were other pieces that I literally took tons of fabric out of. And then on the bottom, I cut the 22. So, okay, I cut the 22. I admit I have a stomach, and it's hard to fit a stomach. Like, it's one of the biggest things. I hate making pants because I have to like do special things to fit, for it to fit around my tummy. So I did those. But then, yeah, it was weirdly baggy at the waist and then really tight across my hips. So I had to add in stuff. So this is why I've gone out of my way to make sure that I have a mannequin that is like close to my size, and I occasionally update the cover on this so that it adjusts, because this pattern needed so much adjustment for myself. I had to put this dart in here. The front pieces, the ones that fit better were the larger, and then the back and side, I ended up having to take in probably at least down a pattern size, I would imagine, if I was to cut the other, like compare this to the other versions of the pattern. So yeah. Okay, so here is the pattern kind of revamped. You see, I didn't make much changes here. I added a dart and had to add extra here. This piece is vastly different. The uncut part is the original, and that's how I've reshaped it. And these guys, which should be this direction, because then they would actually, the side seams would actually match up, but somebody didn't draft them, like, or they were trying to save printing space, so they flipped them. These guys have a big section that I'm taking out here, and actually I'm totally changing the bottom and the back because I think this looks stupid and weird in the pictures. So I'm going to make it look like the drawing that they totally didn't follow. And now I've been looking at the pants tonight. In order for me to feel comfortable wearing this, I really need to take the time to make sure that it fits me as best possible, and so that I feel confident wearing it. Like there's just been so many sewing projects over the years that I've jumped into without taking the slow steps to make sure that it is like fit ahead of time. So this one, I'm trying to do that because I really want it to turn out well. And yeah, sorry I didn't film more of it to start with, but it was kind of like me rage quitting in the middle of parts of it at times. I would like do a part of it and I'd be like, this is stupid, I'm not even gonna bother. And then I'd come back a day or two later and like, oh, well maybe if I do this and I take the time. And this actually really fits great. I am gonna make an adjustment here, I think. But so this, at this point, will be open. This will all go into the waistband in the front, and then the pants open on the side seam over here, which obviously I'm wearing my shorts for fitting right now, but so then it goes up in the back like that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I think once I didn't put on a bra, honestly, or the right bra, so I think once that's in there and the sleeves all get, you know, finished off, this is gonna be really stinking cute. Taking the time to fit the original pattern on my mannequin really saved a lot, because this would not fit as nice. This piece was like ginormous, and the back would have been like, look at how nice and fitted that is. The back would have been super, everything just would have been really loose and boxy. Yeah, or at least that's what I feel like it would be. I'm going to end up serging and double needle stitching, flat felling a bunch of these seams. These ones are getting the double needle flat felled, and it probably will also be how I finish the neck. This particular seam will at very least get top stitched into this direction, and possibly as part of the finishing, so it'll end up, because this needs to go that way so that this down here is finished that way. This all will get folded up under here. Let's look at the double needle on it. That seam in the back, that like angled seam across the shoulder, I'm going to serge and double needle for sure. I think I'm going to leave the side seam. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do the side seam, because I want that to be alterable in case I gain or lose any weight. I'm excited. Now you got to see my excited dance. So right now what I am working on is doing the finishing work on the top of this. I'm serging my seam allowance, and then double needle finishing the edges. The person who made this pattern did French seams on all of this, and I was like, no, just no. For several reasons, I'm just like, no French seams. Not that they're necessarily hard to do, but I wanted to be able to fit this. It was already having such fit issues. I wanted to be able to adjust it as I went in case something came up. So I didn't want to have to deal with French seams and then taking it all apart to seam it together. Also, I just didn't like the bulkiness of a French seam in this particular idea. I wanted something flat and something that had more of a jean feel. So I really wanted to do this whole like serge and then double needle finish. The other thing is that the pattern came with a facing, a neck facing. It was like a combination neck and armhole facing. And I mean, yes, it could work, but I made changes to this. I did not sew this together. Like, I made changes to the shoulder seam, I made changes to the underarm, I made a lot of changes to this, and I really just didn't want to redraft the, I dropped this neckline like a good, so this neckline was really high and very, like it was very loose because there's not a fullness in the body, or at least not on me. I'm more concave on my upper chest, so it kind of poked out. So I dropped this down to where it would be nice and tight, and just have a little more cleavage because I like that. But so anyways, I would have had to completely redraft the facing, and I really just didn't want to. So rather than do a facing, I decided, I literally, even this edge, I serged, and I'm doing the double needle, which is nice because then, like, literally, I'm starting down here. Yeah, I started down here, and I'm just working my way around the edge to the top of the back seam. So I already finished my shoulder seams once I had those in the right height. Did the same thing, serge, and the double needle finishing on the front. I did the same thing on these back kind of diagonal seams. So I did a serge and the double needle finishing. So what I decided to do for future adjustment, in case I ever did need to adjust it in the future in the side seam, I serged these separately, and I did serge this seam, I didn't serge the bottom of the seam here, but I did fold over, there's a serging on most of this. I did fold it over though, and use my double needle to finish this. But so this will still, like, if I unpicked this is still pretty easy to adjust. So I'm not going to do any sort of extra stitching in here. The next thing that I'm doing is I have pressed back my center back seam. Okay, so I made sure when I pressed it that the bottom lined up, that this seam lined up, and that the top lined up. So I kept pressing it until I had that perfect, pretty much done. So it's not exactly on the original lines, but it's close. I think it came in a little bit more on this side than it did on this side, but when I fold it in half, it's pretty close to dead center, so we're good. I am going to temporarily baste in this zipper. I'm not going to put it in permanently quite yet. I'm gonna just run it through my machine with basically like a top stitch right here on both sides, because I want to try it on, so I'm not going to cut it off yet. I'm going to just get it fittable and see if I feel like I need any more adjustments, and then I'm not going to put this zipper permanently in until I have finished the arm size, attached the pants, made sure that the pants and everything fit, just basically so that I know that there's no more adjustments that needs to be made. And then I think this will get, this I'll finish, I'll cut it down, turn under, and finish the top of the zipper nicely. I couldn't get one in this color in the exact length I needed, so I just bought an extra one, but I'll go over how to shorten a zipper, or different ways. There's a couple different ways to shorten a zipper, so. Okay, so attempt one at putting this zipper in. I feel like zippers I almost always end up having to do a couple passes because, fingers in front of the camera. Inevitably, no matter how much I do them in practice, I fuck them up all the time, I feel like. Not a family-friendly channel, sorry about it. But I'm also not monetized, so I don't care. Okay, so yeah, I really just wanted to do this quickly for testing how this looks, to make sure that I don't need to take in this center back anymore. So this is really just like a quick, I laid it on, kind of matched some things up, pinned it in place, and top stitched it to my machine. And I didn't even do it with my good zipper foot. I did it with a crappy zipper foot. So that's probably even more why it doesn't, like, look at this. It's not very even here. It gets all skinny right here. Focus. Okay. So let's see. It's a little off. Again, this is why I'm gonna end up redoing it. It did scooch, no matter how hard I try. It's just ever so slightly off. And again, once I do it the second time, like I said, I was kind of, I didn't do my usual tips and tricks to like get this perfectly in place because I'm going to take it off one more time at least. But like I said, I wanted to get it on. And that would suck if I had done it and it was perfect and then I had to take it off. It's better to do it wrong, a little wrong first, and then have to go back. Okay, I'm just going to show you the setup for my double needle. Yeah, so I've got a black thread here and a black thread here. They both run through the same tension stuff, and then they come down, and my machine has two separate little thread holders at the top of it, and then they go through. And this is just set on normal stitch. Don't change it to zigzag, don't do anything. This particular needle that I am using is a Schmetz double needle in a 4mm wide double needle. It's a 90. I also have I think I have a larger one, like a 6mm. That's what this first number is. It's how wide it is. The second number is the needle size, how much space is between them, and then your needle size. So you can get them in 2, 4, 6. I have a size 80. I think I have a 100. And I know I have a, you can get them with ballpoint for stretch too. They're very useful. So when you're sewing, if you want to finish a hem with a double needle on a stretch fabric, then you put woolly nylon in the bottom of this, which is in your bobbin. You wind a bobbin here. Let me bring that. I got one right here. You wind your bobbin with this stuff called woolly nylon. And you put that in the bottom. You stitch with regular thread on top, and you stitch with this on the bottom, and it makes a really nice stretchy hem when you're trying to do spandex or lycra or anything stretchy, and you don't have a cover stitch machine. So, yeah. But anyways, yeah, so double needle. This is, you can see right here, I already did one pocket. That is the front of it. It makes a very nice even line. I need to adjust some tension before I sew the other one, but this will be fine because it's for me and it's on the inside of my pocket. It's not holding anything. The tension's just a smidge off. It pulled a little bit more to the bottom than I wanted. But, so yeah, you get the two lines on the front and then you'll get a zigzag on the back. So yep, you just work through it slowly. I am using that spot on my foot as my guide, and doesn't want to focus where I want it to. Alright, so at this point I have finished the alterations to the crotch seams. I did leave a little bit extra up here before I serged together, just in case I do ever need to adjust the top or bottom. I've put in new darts where I think that they need to go now after the last fitting. So at this point I'm going to use my double needle to stitch down the crotch seam on the front and the back while they're still separated. And then the next thing I'll do is put together the center legs and then trim up and do the side seams. And then that should be all fit and done. I'll do one more fitting after that. So the pants are fit, kind of. I'm still not super happy with them, although I don't know that I will ever be happy with this style pocket, because it is in general, with rare occasion, that I buy pants that have this type of pocket, because they do this. They do this gappa. not to be confused with Yo Gabba Gabba. I'm hoping that once this waistband piece is here, I'm hoping that it won't be as bad, but it still might. There's a few things that I'm having. And then I'm gonna readjust this right in here because this is doing something funky. Like it wants to come forward, I don't know. But then like the pocket, like it shouldn't, because the pocket really should be forward. You know, it's all pulling because there's this fabric. So it just, I'm gonna kind of keep moving forward with making it as perfect as I can, but I can only do so much when literally the structure. I feel like if this pocket had slanted and only like come here to where the bottom of the zipper opening is, and actually I'm not even positive because there's the waistband here, so the zipper opening may actually be up here. I feel like if the pocket had slanted to a different location, not so far down on the hip, this wouldn't be as much of an issue. So the waistband should be, you know, there. And I feel like that is on my body where it's, where it should want to fall. Might be a little bit high, we'll see. I might be able to drop this just a little bit. I did purposely, because I did purposely add half an inch in height to this. And I'm trying to remember if I think I might have made, oh yeah, I put an inch seam allowance here. Whoops, I put an inch seam allowance here. So the waistband, I did that on purpose just to be able to adjust the actual finished girth, because I have, partially because of the belly, partially just because I actually do have a much longer torso than my legs. My legs are a little short. My torso is a little long. Generally, I need length in that full girth. So that is why I have done them separately. And that is why I liked this pattern, the fact that this pattern had a waistband. It's not just these two connecting as is. I mean, they're almost where I could connect them as is. And what's funny is the drawing that is on the website has them connected without a waistband, but then the person who finally made it and made the pattern put a waistband in it. But yeah, no, I like the idea of adding a waistband, because that also, especially, okay, so like if you are a person that has a long torso or worries about girth, a great way to construct something is to put a waist piece in it, because then you can adjust that. Okay, so here I am, you can see I put the top of the waistband together, clipped this. I am stitching it. So this will be the outside of the pants, stitching that first. I did fold this. I'm folding this back, and I'm going to leave this for the moment free while I decide exactly how I want to finish the zipper. I think I might do the nice thing and put the zipper inside the top of this, or the top of the zipper inside of this, but just still taking a second to get everything on and together. Yeah. So this is like in the like picture tutorial, she sewed both of these on here and then like clipped and folded this edge under and top stitched it. That just seems like so much more work than to do it this way and then fold this back and like stitch in the ditch or top stitch this onto here, especially since you're doing the double needle here anyways eventually. I don't understand the logic that they used. So yeah, okay, continuing on. Okay, I'm changing what I'm doing again slightly. All right, so I've put the back waistband on like this. I ended up changing my mind and picking this so that it could fold back, because I am going to put the zipper inside the top of this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to top stitch with my double needle this section here. I'm going to leave this open. So part of what I'm doing is going to make this easier to alter in the future. At least hopefully. If I ever need to take it in at the top through the sides on the zipper, I would be able to. I'm going to do just the top stitching through here and the seam allowance, and then this part, the facing, is just going to get stitched in the ditched in here later, so that if I need to, I can open this up and I could move the zipper in if I needed to or whatever. So I kind of basically give myself the ability to do a side dart so that I don't have to mess with these darts or the center back seam. Okay, I have totally been filming this in a weird order. I'm gonna go ahead and finish the sleeves and, or the arms, whatever. Okay, so I've put a stay stitch around this now, basically where the stitching line was on the inside. I had added extra seam allowance to this because I wanted to be able to adjust it just in case. I've had clothing where the arms particularly on a sleeveless thing, has been way too low for me, so I just wanted to make sure that everything was okay, but this is good. Okay, so I have my bias. So this is single fold 1/2 inch bias that I have, you can see that I have pressed open one side of it. Hopefully that'll focus. It doesn't want to focus. Come on, focus. Okay, so I've pressed open one side of it, and I have also, when I pressed open the one side of it, I pressed it into a curve. Okay? Those are the two most important things that you need to do to get this to lay right. I wish that I had something slightly bigger, but this will cover the seam allowance, so it's fine. I'm going to start at the underarm, and using the curve the way I pressed it, I'm going to pin it on so that the side that I pressed open, should be like right at basically that stitch line that I already stitched in. So I'm going to pin this all the way around, then I'm going to sew it, and then I'm going to flip it, then I'm going to clip and flip it all to the inside and top stitch it down. So I will show you that. Okay, yeah, so I have stitched this all the way around. I folded back and overlapped here just so that there's a nice finish on the inside. Now I'm going to clip this, turn everything back, and then I'll either do a top stitch, or I probably will just do a top stitch with the double needle. Just my big concern was I wanted to make sure that the double stitching here and here stayed nice, so I did let this slide in. You can see the stay stitch where I was originally trying to make sure that I passed it, but I think we're fine. And that just seemed to cut in a little bit more in that, because this is that point in your arm where you got the little arm bubble thing, and so this will just help cover it a little bit more by letting it slide out. So I think it's gonna be good. The hardest part is just this is very thick right here, so this one, to fold this back, is gonna be particularly like it's gonna take a little bit extra pressing right here in this area, because we got like 4 or 5 layers of the jean material. So, but it's gonna look really pretty, and I'll just take that little stitch out. Otherwise, everything else was covered by my final stitching. So yeah. Okay, so this is it turned to the inside and just top stitched. I just decided to do one stitch instead of the double needle, because I wanted to make sure that it was wide enough to catch the edge so that I didn't have any fraying. So yeah, sleeves done. So now I can go ahead and attach this. Probably should finish this zipper at some point, but I can go ahead and attach this to the pants. And so I'll attach the front waistband here first, and then probably attach to the pants and do a fit check before I actually like attach the facing waistband to this. So that will be the next steps. Okay, I have one zipper in. I wanted to do one before I filmed how I did it, just to make sure that I remembered how to do it right. So this is a centered zipper with a lap. So it's going to end up, the fabric is going to end up almost meeting once it's done. I do have to still put the placket in behind here, and I need to trim this out. Serger thread. Alright, so I need to put a placket in behind here, which I have cut, so I'll do that before I do the next one. Look at all of these threads. And then it gets a little hook and bar at the top here to hold this closed. Or hook and eye. Let's see which one I want to use. It'll be a hook and eye because it'll be on the back side. I also wanted to see, because I changed my mind in fitting this again. So this is what it looks like on the inside before the placket. It's got a nice little box around it. This is going to be bound off. I also am going to go back in really quick and insert a piece of elastic right here. It's going to run across the center back and just snug this in a bit. So I went ahead and I did a fitting on this again one more time. This is where this needs to close. So it's actually now is closing correctly. So I need to make a little adjustment in here so that we have the right seam allowance. I'm going to center it on the seam allowance because now when I've put it on, it's closing evenly, whereas before it wasn't. I don't know, sometimes patterns are weird. Something about when I added the waistband. I also ended up dropping this waist a little bit more than when I had first originally fit it. I think I ended up dropping it about 5/8 of an inch down from where it was. Just it sat better on my waist there. So, and the same with the front. I ended up dropping the front a little bit, but I also had to take off. So, this is why you should just double check things once you sew them together, because the bottom of this pattern curved the wrong direction for how it should sit into this waistband. So it was pulling way up here, it should have been down here. It was doing some weird things. So I ended up making sure that it all curves the correct direction, because it should curve with the waistband a little bit. That also gave me some more wiggle room to adjust a couple things in here. This whole pattern has just been a nightmare. Not gonna lie. I am really glad it's almost done. I will probably never ever do it again. And yeah, it's been an interesting experience. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about how I like to put in a centered zipper. And honestly, the way I put in a centered zipper is not all that different than the instructions that literally come with the zippers. You get this and you throw it away, right? You know, you rip your zipper off and you don't ever pay attention. The centered application that they use is actually pretty good, pretty accurate, pretty even. I do a couple things a little bit differently, just because, and especially when I'm dealing with like a heavier zipper, but honestly, for a centered zipper, that one's pretty good. It kind of depends on what zipper I'm doing. If I'm doing a lap zipper where, okay, so let me just fold this back. So there's a center zipper where like your zipper is going to be directly in the center of your seam allowance. And then there's a lapped where it might be like this to the side, and then this laps over so that it's completely covered. And then there's an exposed zipper where it comes down, does a nice little box, comes back up around. And you see the teeth. All of those have different ways to do them. Like, for example, if I was going to do a centered zipper where I had the teeth exposed, I would actually have to make a little box. Like, I would sew up, and then I'd clip and do a flip, and then I'd put this in afterwards from the outside with just top stitching. I should do some tutorials on different zipper applications. Anyways, I'm not doing that. I'm doing a centered one. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out, wait, I should probably, yeah, I should be doing it on this side, because this is the side that I'm going to put in the sewing machine, because I want to sew from here up for all of this for ease purposes. So first thing that I'm going to do on my seam allowance is I'm going to put this in and find out where the bottom of my zipper is going to be. So I'm putting this in so that there's a little bit of opening at the top. Let me move, you guys. You can also, like, if you wanted to set your zipper like right up to here, you can just fold these and then you could set it up right into there if you wanted it like all the way. But I'm gonna have a little hook and eye at the top, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use this as a guide to figure out exactly where I'm gonna stick it. So this would be when this is folded back. It's gonna look like that. And there's going to be a little bit of space. There's going to be a hook and eye here. And then there's going to be a placket behind it. Anyways, so putting that at the top of the seam allowance, I'm marking the bottom of my zipper with a pin. So I need to make sure that there's back stitching right here. I'm going to take this a little bit out because that's a little bit too high. And then I'm going to back stitch right here, and then I'm going to change my stitch length, and I'm going to baste the zipper closed up to the top of this seam allowance. I'm not going to bother going into the facing. Okay, so I have this basted together, like I said, down here. Let's show you. So I back stitched down here where that pin was. Like basically right before the pin. So I started a little bit lower, stitched up, back stitched, stitched up to the pin, changed to my basting stitch, and I basted this straight up. You don't need to back stitch at the top. You don't need to back stitch all the way up the top. So back stitch down here, stitch straight up. This is a basting stitch. It's literally just we're going to rip this open after we get the zipper in. So can start with either side, but what we're gonna do, you want to have your zipper head like this little tab thing up so it gets less in your way. I also highly recommend using the sled zipper foot for this. We're going to just to one seam allowance, and in this case it's going to be the one on the right because I'm going to stitch from the bottom up. Open the zipper, and we're going to line up our teeth of our zipper. You don't need to pin it completely in place. I usually don't. I'll just kind of pin it a little in place so that I got it like so it's less likely to shift around. Okay, and then we're gonna go to the machine and stitch this from the top up. We're only gonna stitch, we're gonna fold everything back, it's only gonna get stitched, base stitched to this. So the whole point is you baste it in on at least one side. You can baste it in on both if you want. I prefer to just do one. Then you flip the whole thing over with the zipper closed and you top stitch around it. So I'll show you this. Okay, so I have my zipper foot switched out to the sled one. Let's see, you can see the little sled one versus this style of zipper foot. Okay, I really cannot recommend this style of zipper foot to you enough. Whoops. It really makes a lot of things easier, especially when you're dealing with larger zippers. Okay, let me see if I can show you. So like this will sort of fit over this. Like this one isn't as bad, right? Because you want to be able to like really glide it right near those teeth. Although once you add the bulk of the fabric from the other side, it really ends up pushing it away like to there. But when you get into any bigger zippers than this, and I used to use a lot of really large, a lot of number 5 zippers, plastic ones, in theater for strength and for longevity. really becomes almost impossible to use this style zipper foot because they're just too big. So get yourself a sled one. I promise it will be worth it. Okay, so we're gonna pin. We're gonna stitch just the one side, like I said, to just the seam allowance. So we're gonna fold it back like this. I like to move my zipper head a couple of times. I keep the so we're gonna start with it up like halfway. I'm gonna come in here. We're just basting this. Okay, so I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna put my needle down as I start to approach the zipper head. And then I'm gonna pull it back out of the way. Doing that will keep you from getting weird bubbles from your zipper heads. Like, you will get like a weird, like, it'll be going loop, and then, you know, like kind of travel to the side. You don't want that. So keep it out of the way as much as you can. This is just a base to kind of hold it in place. If it's a little far out, it doesn't matter, right? You can actually see there's about where my zipper head was, and it started to push my, it actually pushed out from where I was. So then you're going to close your zipper up. If you want, at this point, you could, if you're very concerned about getting it perfectly in place, you could do the exact same thing on this side. You could very carefully pull this and baste it to this side too. I've had that happen where if you don't actually like pull it, you can get a bubble. So I just don't do that. I prefer just to go to the other side at this point. When I put this in, so I'm going to stitch down this side. When I come back up to the other side, I'm actually going to stop here and not finish this top one, because I am going to open this up, move the zipper head, and then finish stitching this little top section. So I'm actually gonna stop right here, and then I'll overstitch a second time and go up and finish it after I've moved the zipper head out of the way again, so that I do not get that weird bubble thing happening. So you'll kind of probably understand what I mean once I start doing this. So oh, and now we can turn it back to a regular stitch length. So right now this is going to end up pushing the head out of the way, and everything's going to be fine. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot to do. I forgot to go in before you stitch the front. You want to put a pin to help you know how far down you're going to go. So this pin marks the bottom of the zipper on the underside. So it'll be just below here. So we're going to go down and we're going to end up stitching around and turning at that pin. So it's past the bottom of the zipper head. You don't, especially with a metal zipper, you don't want to accidentally sew over that stop or your teeth. And come right down to that pin, pull it out. This is where when you're working with a large thing, it can be a little frustrating. I'll drop that back down. You can't see what I'm doing. So I have rotated. I've rotated. Now we're going to stitch across like 4 or 5 stitches. We're going to rotate again. Trying to make sure that there's no bubbles getting pushed, like that everything's staying about even, that we're staying in line with the zipper. And then, like I said, you can do one of 2 things. This again mostly has to do with, oops, this is in the way. Through there. Main reason why I want to stitch to here is because then I know that here and here are going to be pretty much lined up how they're supposed to be. If I were to like rip this open here and move the zipper head, this could continue to stretch farther. I want to make sure that this lines up as best possible, and that's kind of why I'm going to go till there. Didn't like that. That's alright, it still worked. It didn't bend my needle. It was only going to. So, like I said, the reason I'm stopping there is now I know that this point is going to stay as close as possible together. And I mean, I guess it was already a little off when I originally sewed it. It's not going to be that noticeable. So... And that's the thing, is you have to remember I'm also doing this for myself right now, and I'm really, really tired of this project. So in a perfect world, I probably would fix that if I was really, like, if I was doing this for somebody else. But this is for myself, and I am so tired of this project, I just want it done. So I'm not going to worry about this. And that is a perfectly fine answer, just so you know. I'm just going to move the zipper down. I've popped this open a little bit. I haven't popped it open the whole way, but popped it open a little way. I'm going to move the zipper down. Going to go back into the machine with it. Take a second to make sure that I am lining my stitch back up exactly. See, so the teeth kind of just poke out right at the edge, so you can kind of use that to help you stitch and guide the rest of it. And then when I get up here, I kind of just push that a little bit inside. After you've got your zipper in, you can go ahead and take your seam ripper, pop that open. This is where I live my little frill nipper thing, because I can go in there and really get a hold of all of these threads. Excuse my morning cough, apparently. My allergies, I don't know if it's the fires that have been going on in California coming in here or what, but my cough has been horrendous. And now you have a working lap zipper. Goes all the way up. Be nice. Then we'll finish the inside of this, and like I said, a little hook and bar at the top. That is your lap zipper. It needs a little press, but wow, that really ended up squeaking up there, didn't it? I might need to fix that. I'm gonna go back and fix. I'm not gonna show you me fixing it, but I'm gonna go back and fix that. Sometimes these things. Okay, so I'm going to show you a little trick that I'm going to do. So when I fit this, the waistband was gapping in the back, in the center back, and I don't have enough of this fabric to alter the pattern and cut another one. Like, it's too many small pieces at this point. Like, I could alter it, put a seam in the center back and replace it, but again, I'm just done. I don't want to. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take this piece of, is this 1.5 inches? I think this is 1.5 inches. Yeah, it looks like 1.5 inches. I'm going to take this piece of 1.5 inches elastic and we're going to put it into the back here. And I'm going to do that actually when I close up this back waistband. So this is part of why I chose to do all of my top stitching just through the seam allowance instead of actually like doing the top stitching afterwards, because I realized this was a problem and I wanted to fix it. I also want to make this alterable, so I'm actually going to make this so that I can have a piece of elastic running all the way across the back. So basically I'm going to sew it in here when I close this up. It's going to kind of be a little bit of a cheater way. We're going to just end up top stitching from this side, right on top of the seam allowance where we put the zipper in. I need to trim that thread away. Apparently. I missed it. Trim your threads, people. Trim your threads. We're gonna put it in, and I'm gonna put it up towards the top, and then I'm basically gonna stretch it and connect it on the other side to the back. So we will film some of that. Okay, so what I've done right now is I've pinned the waistband closed. I'm going to end up stitching the spacing in place. I'm going to stitch in the ditch on this side. So I've just kind of pinned it so that I can make sure that I manipulate this in enough to hide everything that I need to hide. Yeah. But anyways, so that caught a fair amount of it in there. This is, I can feel it. So we should be good to tug on this without it getting pulled away. So now I can just take this. I'm probably going to take a little bit more off of it. I give myself a little bit extra. So now on this side, we're going to pull this all the way over. This one, actually, I'm going to make this side the alterable side. I'll explain why. So I put serger on that really quick. Totally should have serged that tighter. Oh well. This is what happens when you're doing it in real time and you're lazy. That was me just using a teeny tiny crochet hook, or you can use a teeny tiny latch hook to pull my serger ends through so I don't have to worry about them unraveling. So on this side, what I'm going to do in order to make this like easier to alter, I'm actually going to not encase it, I'm going to stitch it like that. And so you'll actually just kind of be able to see that a little bit. It's not going to offend me, again, because this is for me, not for a client. And then I know which side is easier to get into, and then I don't have to undo everything to get it. I'll just be able to undo part of the top stitching, pull the elastic, and we would be ready to go tightening it. If that makes sense. I hope you understand why I'm doing that. So now you can see it's caught, but it's accessible. So in this particular case, I would only have to unstitch here and pull it out, whereas on the other side I tucked it inside, so it's a little more hidden. But it looks like I got it decently all the way up, so we're good. Now, now I'll show you how to stitch in the ditch using the lovely sled foot. Okay, I'm going to talk for a second about how I'm going to finish the top of these zippers. So this one I've cut off. I'm going to see really quick if I can get some of these teeth off. Try to take the teeth off down to... Sometimes you can get them, sometimes they just don't want to come. And you can just sort of fold it under. Sometimes if you use like the little, like, oh, this isn't focusing. Sometimes if you use the little like nipper pliers, that'll help. Because you can kind of get in there and almost break them. Just be careful. It's much easier to do on plastic ones. So I just happen to have a metal zipper that I'm using in this one. And it's very easy to get them off on plastic ones. You can kind of just almost cut them off and then pull off the little edges. But it's important to get them off with metal ones because you don't want to accidentally sew over them. Okay, so you're going to take them off till just a little bit below the top. Because this is all going to get folded back under. So that's what you kind of want it to look like. This will help stop it. We're also going to put a stitch here to help stop the zipper from going off. There are kits you can buy. I don't have any currently that I don't think I have any. There's little stoppers that you can buy that you can squeeze on here that will make like a permanent stop that is also metal. Maybe I'll check and see if I have one floating around. I don't think I do. So I've done one side. I always start with one side. Then very carefully, and I keep a needle or something here so that the zipper can't go past, because if it goes off, then you are fucked. You don't want the zipper to go off of the thing, so you want to make sure that you got something to stop it. You're going to want to zip it up really close to it and sort of see. Come on, focus. You're going to zip it up really close. Come on, focus on this. Yes, focus on that. You're going to want to figure out where you need to take it off to the other side to kind of match. So I think we're going to take, I'm going to go one. So if that tooth goes in here, then I'm going to go one up. So I'm going to take it off on, focus, take it off on this side to there. Okay? So, but you don't want to, if you accidentally pull that zipper too far and it comes off, then you have to get it back on and it's a pain in the butt. So now I'm going to do this side. Okay, so I've taken it off on this side. I want you to focus there. Taking it off on this side, I'm going to burn that, let that cool. If you do have any fraying on this edge, you can, which I think I do on this piece. I have a little bit of fraying right there. I'm just gonna very carefully like melt it back together. This is glass, or this ball head is glass, so it's not going to be a problem. Okay. Okay, well, I just totally forgot to press film on this. So right now what I'm doing is I'm making a big old chunky thread zipper stop. When you don't have a zipper stop, so you can get zipper stops for the tops of zippers. You can get them a couple different places. I think you can get them in kits at Joann's. I think. I'm not 100% positive. You used to be able to. I don't know if you really can now. So I just double knotted that. I'm gonna chop this off. I'll do it again. If you can't get them at Joann's, you can try Wack, or you can try a place called zipperstop.com online, which is usually where I order zippers from. That's actually where I ordered these zippers from. This is Zipperstop. So the zipper stop looks like this. You can get like grosses of them for really cheap, and you get them in different sizes depending on the type of zipper that you're using. Anyways, they're really great because you can kind of just crimp them on with plier and they're good to go. When you don't have one, you got to make a big old knot with, this is some button thread that I have, heavy duty button thread. Put a big old nice knot in the back end of that. And we're just going to go through 3 or 4 times right after that last zipper bit. Would you just, no, just caught yourself in a knot. This is knotting on me for some reason a lot. I like the button thread because it's nice and thick. You don't have to do a lot of stitches to get a solid stop. So anyways, yeah, I'll try to put the link in in the description box for Zipperstop, because they are a great place to order zippers from. They are, again, not sponsored or anything. I just really love them. And I love sharing with people where to get things cheaper than you can get them from the JoJo's. Because I hate Joann's. I really, really hate Joann's. So Zipperstop, they are out of New York. They sell online. You can get bulk shipping items, whatnot, like wholesale prices. So if you're ordering, if you need a bunch of zippers, it's a great, great resource, because the more zippers you order, the cheaper they are. Usually, okay. All right, so now, moment of truth, and hopefully my zipper doesn't fall off. Zip up, and my little stops have stopped the zipper. So now I'm going to stitch this back in, and also when I do that, I'm going to stitch this placket onto the inside. And the placket on the inside will go, I believe, on this side. So it'll get stitched in right here, just to cover. It's not necessary, but I got it, so I'm gonna put it in. All right, so here's my outfit. Here's my finished jumpsuit. It turned out pretty darn cute, I think. Still not super happy with several things. Again, we're still having issues with these pockets. I never did quite get those to sit right. Could be my weight, could be something about the pattern. I don't particularly, so this point right here is at my hip. And I feel like it gets a lot of stress when I sit. I've already had this one pop and this side pop. I fixed this one. This one just popped this time when I put it on. So very exciting. Otherwise, it's really like I can move without like getting a wedgie, basically, which was the big thing when I changed the crotch seam. As I said already previously in the video, there was issues with the printing of it. Then when I put it together and like cut out my mock-up of the top, I realized it was really boxy and did not shape very well to someone with curviness and boobs. So I fixed that. So again, we're going to look at, I ended up adding this dart into this seam. I ended up completely changing this panel right here. And I ended up altering the back so that it fit nicer on me through this seam that's here. And then I also changed the shape that the pattern had here, because it actually came down into more of a cut across as opposed to the V. I really liked the whole sort of chevron of those seams at the top and then the V at the bottom. So I really wanted to make that part of it as opposed to how they had done it in the pattern, that's how that they had drawn it on the website, on the picture, and then the pattern was different. Pattern was different in a couple of ways. In the picture, again, in the rendering that they drew, it didn't have a waistband here, and again, the back was much more like this V shape. So, and also the drawing was curvier too. The final look on the model that they used was more on the boxy side. She was also a very small model, like in comparison to myself. You know, she was a standard size, probably like, I would guess like a 4'6". I could be wrong about that. I don't know if it said anywhere on the website. I didn't really look. So the main thing that I was concerned about down here was if it was pulling too tight, the whole sort of like camel toe thing going. This doesn't dig in anywhere. It lays nice and flat here, like which is what it's supposed to do. It's sort of supposed to come flat down instead of like, you know, it could be like pulling against my belly more. That was really what I didn't want. So that was kind of my concern there. And the same in the back side. I wanted to make sure that it like really nicely hugged my butt without like pulling weird on the sides or making any weird like folds or whatnot. So those were the things that I was focusing on when I was adjusting the pattern based on pants fitting guides that I have dealt with in the past. So I just shaved out a little bit sort of in this area of the crotch, like made it just scoop more basically. And sometimes that does affect a little bit over here, the sides. I wanted to make sure that the waistband definitely sat at my waist. I should have taken the time to alter the shape of this waistband because my hip to waist ratio is over 10 inches. My hips about 52, 50, somewhere in there. And my waist is like 40, 38, 40, depending on the day. I think when I first started making this, which was earlier in the quarantine pandemic, it was a little bit smaller. So it was more like 50, 38. Now it's more like 52, 40. But, you know, we gain and lose weight all the time. So yeah, I needed to do some stuff to make sure that it was big enough on my hips, but then small enough for my waist, which is also part of why the top, because my chest across here is only about 45, 46 maybe at the most, if I'm wearing a padded bra. So, a matter of fact, if I put a padded bra on with it, then this would probably like fill out this extra here, but yeah, so that's where we're at with this. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I don't know if I'll ever try it again. I might, and then like change the pockets how I think would work better. Usually my instincts with patterning are pretty good. Like I will do stuff instinctually and not really realize why until I sew it together, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that's why I did that. Even if I didn't know I needed to do that, that's why I did that, because it's going to look better that way. Sometimes that has to do with like my eye and lines and where things fall. But yeah, no, I think if I did them in the future, it would just definitely be a higher slanted pocket. They're pretty cute. I might make myself another pair. A black pair would be really nice. Maybe in like a slightly stretchier fabric. This was a poly cotton, I think, or just a cotton and has no stretch. But I think if I did like a black stretch spandex, ooh, maybe with like a tapered leg, That might look cute. I mean, now that I have spent all of this time fixing the pattern, maybe I should finish fixing the pockets and do it again. I don't know. You tell me what you think. Should I do it again? Should I try it with a different method? I will apologize for not filming some of the finishing work at the end. I filmed some stuff about the zippers, and then I like it really got to the point with this project where I was just sort of done with a couple of things, because once I got the side zippers in and tried it on again, and this was still wrong, I was just very frustrated and very done. And I had some problems. What else did I... Oh, my double needle suddenly was having issues in my sewing machine, so that was not fun. I think I figured out the problem, although I think my sewing machine actually just really needs to be maintenance. Maintenance your sewing machine. Take it in every once in a while. Give it some love. It's like a spa day for the sewing machine. Take it to a professional. I mean, do what you can at home. But yeah, so like I put in there's some little hook and eyes and stuff that I honestly didn't film showing you how to put in, because I don't know, maybe I'll do that as a video someday, just like a quick hook and eye tutorial. I keep thinking of all these little videos I should do, and I really should make some of them. Thank you for watching this video, checking out how I did my overalls, listening to me ramble about how much I really hated parts of this pattern. I mean, like I said, end result, I'm like decently happy with. I will wear these. They will be cute. I have to figure out how I want to style it. I'm thinking about like maybe a fishnet shirt underneath it would be really cute, or some sort of long sleeve thing with the fall coming up. It'll be like, it'll work underneath this but still be cute maybe. And I gotta figure out like jewelry wise and stuff what I want to do with, but really am like 90% happy, which is pretty good sometimes for a project. I mean, I've had projects where I was just like, this is the perfect thing that I have ever made, and then I've had projects where I'm like, well, this really sucks and I'm never gonna wear it again. So on like that scale, like this is not the most perfect thing I've ever made that I want to wear all the time, but it's definitely like on the upper scale of, I'm gonna wear this, I'm gonna enjoy this. I might even make a second one since I put a lot of work into it. Here in my hallway of mirrors, it's my hall of mirrors, it's got mirrors on both sides, and then I have my spooky little picture frames and mirrors on the side. This is kind of my little sewing room fitting area, shall we say. I really hope that people are enjoying my content and, you know, want to hear more from me and see more. So please comment, like, subscribe, tell your friends about me, share my videos, you know, get me some more views and whatnot. I really want to keep doing this. I really actually kind of enjoy it. So I know I need to be a little more on top of it. I'm going to work on that. I have plans sort of to organize my life ahead. I really appreciate everyone who comes and watches my videos, and you know, I hope you stick around, and I love you all. Have a good day.